Max Payne is a video game from 2001, which was very good. Max Payne is also a movie from 2008, which wasn't very good. It's a bit odd because honestly, if there's one game you describe as easy to make a movie of, Max Payne would be the top of most lists. And yet, somehow, it ranks as one of the worst video game adaptations to date. Even more impressive when you consider UV Ball had nothing to do with it. How did they manage to get it so wrong? Well, the game is a gritty neo-noir affair. It's drenched in snow, shadow and various layers of grime. But it looks good. Well, it did for its time. He's a cop turned vigilante after his wife and child were murdered. When we find him, he's basically a half hard-boiled detective, half existential crisis. He's addicted to painkillers, and while he's not quite lost the sense of right and wrong, he's not much forgetting how the right gets done. The game was built on a low budget by a relatively new game studio, Remedy Entertainment. To keep the budget low, they won't cut corners, but there'll be some shortcuts. Sam Lake, the writer of the game, used his own face as Max to save the cost of employing someone, and instead of expensive to produce cutscenes for the game's story, they'd use panels like a graphic novel. The other characters in the game were portrayed by other people in the Remedy team, or people close to them. Sam Lake's mum even appears in some of the panels. They've been narrated, you wouldn't be expected to sit there and read or anything like that.
Is this the Payne residence?
Yes, someone's broken into my house. They're still here. You have to...
Good. I'm afraid I cannot help you.
Who is this? Hello?
The game and the film aren't the same. Close, but no. The basic setup is, after the death of his family, Max in the game is working undercover with the crime family trying to find out who was responsible for his family's death. In the film version, he's working cold cases while trying to find out the same. Mark Wahlberg plays Max in the film, but he doesn't play him in the same way. The narration is gone for starters, which, if you play the game, it's hard to imagine Max not internally growling his way through anything. Mr. Wahlberg would also admit to having never played the game before or after taking on the role, which you would though, wouldn't you? His casting divides people. Some think it was right call, some don't. I'm okay with it personally. The game and the film both link the death of his family to a drug that's taking over the city. In the games, Valkyr is a drug that was developed by the military, supposedly as a way to give the users an advantage on the battlefield. But it fails after it's discovered that it's also responsible for giving people vivid and terrifying nightmares. In the film, it's a designer drug. The nightmare effects are visualised by literal demons, or Valkyries, eventually scaring the users to death. Yeah, it's all handled very differently, and this is where the film starts playing fast and loose with everything, and not in a good way. Most of the characters from the game are in the film, and the ones that have been changed, almost beyond the point of recognition. Mona Sachs, for example, a fan favourite from the game. She's a contract killer with her own agenda, sometimes an ally, sometimes not. Complicated, but fun. A proper noir femme fatale. Her relationship with Max is one of the series' strongest threads. In fact, she carries a lot of the emotional weight in the second game, which could have easily been brought in here. The film, she's played by Mila Kunis, but she's barely more than background noise. It starts off on the right foot. She decided to kill Max after the death of his sister, but as for the events after that, well, the filmmakers didn't understand how important she was to the story at all. Max and Mona's relationship is something that gave the game's heart, a reason for you to care. Strip her back and demote her to a sidekick role and you've lost half the reason fans care in the first place. B.B. Hensley, another example. In the game he's basically a crooked cop, and in the film he's promoted to head villain. Still a crooked cop, but now he's responsible for the distribution of Valkyr. He's played by Beau Bridges in the film, and it's a bit of a waste of his talent. If that change wasn't bad enough, he ends up robbing Max of some of his revenge. One of the game's main villains, Jack Lapino, killed by Max in the game, killed by BB in the film. I mean, how is a man supposed to get some good old-fashioned revenge? Ludacris turns up as Lieutenant Jim Bravia, another character for the game, but you might as well not bother really if the main is in it. James McCaffrey, the original voice of Max Payne, makes a brief appearance, but blinking will miss him.
Detective, Jack Taliente, Special Agent, FBI.
It's a nice little nod, I suppose. I don't know, it's weird. Like I said, it should have been a no-brainer, this one. When the game was released, it was the bullet time technique that made Max Payne stand out from the crowd. At the time, it was new and it set the world on fire thanks to the Matrix. It wasn't the first game to use the effect. That would go to another game, Requiem Avenging Angel, but Max Payne is one most people remember as being the first. They leaned hard into the slow motion shootouts, letting you die through the air like you were Neo himself. Yeah, it was a gimmick, but a cool one. The film, well, no, not really. There's an overly long slow motion scene at one point, but it's far from what people expected or wanted. Which, I guess, brings us to our next point. The game was a third-person shooter, and in the film it takes a good hour before we see any action at all. I mean, come on, how or why is that a good thing? The whole noir thing was stripped back from the game as well, which is kind of offensive on some level. Well, to me anyways. Now, don't get me wrong, for all its faults, you can't say the film isn't a good looking film. Gorgeous even, especially if you're watching the director's cut. But it's not right, it's just like a polished up version of it all. So many odd choices when you sit back and compare the two. None stranger than those literal Valkyries for me though. I'd played the games and I still don't have a clue what they were. Critics tore it apart. Cheesy dialogue, confusing story, and lifeless performances. Fans weren't much kinder. It did scrape about $85 million worldwide on a $35 million budget, so technically it wasn't a bomb, but it killed any chance of a sequel. It actually opened at number 1 in the US, and then word of mouth killed it stone dead. And it serves them right. I mean, I do take again defined by its narration, its style, and its perfectly self-aware pulp, and then strip it all out. What did they think was going to happen? It's like adapting Sin City and removing all the black and white. It's just disappointing. There were 2 more games, and the second not long after the first, and then a few years later the Rockstar go out making a third one. Remedy themselves have made a nice little niche for themselves with games like Alan Wake and Control. At the time of this video they've announced a remake of the first 2 Max Payne games, but they've not surfaced yet. But the film, one and done. It was supposed to have a sequel, it even had an after credit sting which sets it all up, but nobody bothered watching the first film so they didn't waste their time with another, which is probably for the best. Max Payne deserved better, but now it's remembered mostly as a cautionary tale. It wasn't the worst game adaptation ever made, but it was pretty close, and to me, definitely one of the ones that hurt the most. It doesn't make sense, even after all these years. The material was strong, all Hollywood had to do was trust it, but they didn't. I'd recommend watching the director's cut over any other. The original release was stripped back of its violence, and at least this version gives it back. Ah well, that was Max Payne, one of the worst missed opportunities in the whole video game to movie world. To be fair, and for what it's worth, I don't actually hate the movie. I'd like to think some lessons were learned, and well, we know better than that, don't we? On the off chance you don't know any better, check out the other video games movies I've already covered. There'll be a link to the playlist at the end of this video. Drop a like if you, well, like this video. And I'm not finished yet, I'll be doing more videos soon enough. Subscribe if you want to see them pop up in your feed. Or not, I'll be here till the same till you come back. Anyways, I've been Paul and this has been Pixels Popcorn. Thanks for watching.